This upcoming federal election is the most important election many of us have seen in our lifetime. And with that comes a lot of anxiety and a lot of decision making. And because this election is so important, not only based on what's happening in Canada, but also based on what's happening outside of Canada, I think a lot of people are trying to look at the big picture. And that might mean not voting the way that we would normally vote. Now, because this election is very different, it looked very different 4 or 5 months ago. Things have changed. And what we thought the outcome was going to be then may not be the outcome that happens on April 28th. Now, this is a battle for all political parties, and I don't want to slam any one political party. I have disappointment for the party that I normally vote for. I'm just sharing my feelings. I've seen some things that I don't particularly like, and I don't know if it's just the pressure is getting to people. Maybe they aren't making the best decisions, but those are the things that I take into account. I mean, there were some things I didn't like leading up to the election, but in the last little while, it's just making me think like they've lost the plot. Not coming to the defense of Jess, allowing the alt-wrong to tear her to shreds without offering support. Getting all mad at things like strategic voting, like to the point where you're making videos trying to dissuade people from strategically voting. Look, here's the thing. Kudos to anybody that puts their name on a ballot. But for this federal election, there's a priority. The priority is to keep out a party that is a danger to Canada. And when they go on the attack of things like strategic voting, I'll just give you some examples. I'm in Alberta, so I'm going to focus on Edmonton. It's what I know best. So as per Elections Canada, the candidates for Edmonton-Griesbach are as follows. Blake Desjardins is the incumbent. He's NDP. Kiri Diod is the CPC candidate. He's garbage. And then we have the Liberal and all the other people running. Now, when I go to a website like smartvoting.ca, I take all polls with a grain of salt. But if we look at this is the estimated distribution. It would put the NDP in second. I love Blake Desjardins. I think he has done a great job for Edmonton-Griesbach. So a strategic vote would have anybody voting Liberal to give that vote to the NDP so that they can beat the CPC. Again, Kiri Diod is trash. In Edmonton-Strathcona, a diehard NDP riding, Heather McPherson is running. She's the incumbent. When I look at smartvoting.ca, she looks clearly ahead. So it would make sense, in order to keep that going, that people who are going to vote Liberal vote NDP. This is Edmonton Southeast. It is a new riding. No incumbent. It's where Amarjeet Sohi is running. And when I look at smartvoting.ca, it shows the Liberals ahead, with the CPC not that far behind. So it would make sense that people voting NDP would move that vote to the Liberals to keep out the blue. Strategic voting isn't to screw over a party. I know it feels that way, and that's why people's feelings are hurt. Maybe that's why they're making ridiculous decisions. But strategic voting aims to stop what you really don't want to see happen from happening, because that is for the greater good of everybody. Because at this time, in the world that we live in, the greater good is important. And sometimes we need to put our ego aside because the greater good is imperative. And look, it's not the first time it's happened in the world. Remember when the alt-wrong was having a big surge in France and Macron decided to have an election? All of the left-leaning parties decided to band together for the greater good to keep out the alt-wrong. La droite mauvaise. I just made that up as my saying. Now, I've always voted NDP, and I like Jagmeet. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Because at a time when we really should be coming together, making sure we don't get those blue wackadoodles in, I don't know that the NDP has done a great job. To be fair, I don't think the NDP is good at dirty politics. Or so I thought. Because some of the stuff that I've seen in the last little while is not very NDP-ish. And I don't know who in the background is making these decisions, but give your heads a shake. I'm not a fan of majority governments. I hope it's not a majority, because I think minority governments do help conversation. But you can't get mad because the wind changed and people are considering what's going to be in their best interest. The NDP has helped to do a lot in the last 10 years, and that should never be taken away. And there are some really good candidates that have a shot if people strategically vote. So when we say strategically voting, we're not saying don't vote NDP. We're saying look at where you live and don't vote in such a way that is going to allow the candidate in blue with less of a percentage than would have happened if the two parties decided to support one another. That's just my opinion. I did see an article. I'll tag the writer below. You can go and see what they've discovered. Again, this is not anti-NDP. I love orange. But right now, in this moment in time, I dislike blue more than anything. And as a party, don't piss off the people that support you. Because our loyalty is not blind. We critique everybody. And we have a high expectation of the people that we support. And when you hurt one of us, you hurt a lot of us. Maybe it's time to just regroup. And that's okay. All parties do it. So people voting, and it should be all of you, use the resources at your disposal to figure out what's going to be the best vote for your area. Because again, as unfortunate as it is, I dislike something far more than I like something else. And because of that, I'm going to vote strategically.